as an executive on loan. So I was an intern, worked for several years, and then stepped back out, got permission to step back out and work with the organization for 15 months. My connection, I was originally recruited in 1975 in the INROADS Chicago affiliate, which was unique because I'm actually a native New Yorker. I did not grow up in Chicago. So they took a chance and recruited me in 75. Unfortunately, my father was not on board with that plan to stay in Chicago over the summer, because his question was like, where are you staying? And I hadn't thought about all of that. And so I couldn't take the internship that year, but Union Carbide graciously held the spot for me the following year. So I was actually an intern from 1976 to when I graduated in 1978, and then joined them full time and stayed with them for 19 years. Actually in the cafeteria of my all girls dorm, don't laugh. And someone came running in and said, there's this organization called INROADS that's up at the Black House, which was our Black student union, if you will. And they're looking for chemical engineers. I know you're, studying chemical engineering, and they're up there now. There's something about summer jobs. So I went running 5 blocks to go see what they were talking about. So I was not familiar with INROADS, having, not been in that Chicago area, and they had not yet expanded then to the New York area. So that was how I first heard about them. So word of mouth works. The fact that there was a organization committed to recruiting what we called minority talent then, and I was in chemical engineering, only 1 or 3 Black females, only a handful of females even at that time. And so if they could help make that connection for me to an actual job, because Northwestern at that time didn't have internship programs like Purdue did and some of the other colleges. So it just seemed like it was a great fit. Didn't know a lot about them, but if they were committed to being focused on that, that seemed like a good deal for me. So my 18-year-old brain thought it was wonderful. INROADS was almost the Motown, if you will, of career development. They really wanted to make sure that you not only knew how to do the job, that you were successful in school, but you knew how to to act and to speak and to carry yourself and to problem solve. So the workshops actually gave you a chance to meet other fellow students from other schools that you might not have met had you not had those workshop opportunities. So you kind of got over the, oh my gosh, I got to get up Saturday and actually go someplace, to looking forward to it, because you really, gain some useful relationships by doing that. Regional leadership conferences. So multiple chapters would get together and go for a long weekend and really have, back-to-back workshops. And of course there was socializing, but again, that expanded your network to even beyond just your affiliate. So you got to meet the kids from St. Louis, you got to meet the kids from Milwaukee. And I remember us going to, I think, Wake Forest, I think it was. But you would go to colleges, you would go to other colleges, and, they would give us space and we would be there. I actually met Walter Payton one time. For some reason, his team was using the facilities at the college, so a bunch of us got to meet him. So, you had those kind of experiences that you actually got to travel. And looking back on that, just the dynamics of taking a bunch of young people actually out of the city and away, and being responsible for large groups. And then as the organization grew, these conferences got even larger, so when I was in Los Angeles, I got to take a group of my kids to Dallas, so it really was a special time. Just that opportunity to get your foot in the door and corporate America was very different then. So, I've gotten to go places and see things that I probably would not have had the opportunity so young in my career, if I had not been through INROADS. Because of my being with them for 2 summers. I was able to jump directly into a technical sales training class and be with folks that had already been working for a number of years. So I always found myself as the youngest person in the group, but then was able to, move up the corporate ladder more quickly, because also too, I had personal relationships with the CEO, for instance. What 21-year-old gets a chance to, bust into the CEO's office and tell him what you're thinking, and, how we ought to be doing something different with our INROADS students, and things of that nature. So just being a woman back then, and being an African-American woman back then, having that level of visibility and having the confidence to take a risk. At some point of time, I just didn't feel like I had this yearning to give back. And fortunately, I had a manager that kind of felt me on that, but didn't quite know what to do for me. And Lorenzo Tovar, which I'm sure you will have a chance to meet him if you haven't, said to me, "Have you ever thought about being an executive on loan and helping us open up the Los Angeles office?" Well, that's a tremendous responsibility for a 26, 27-year-old, to be responsible for 17 teenagers. I mean, in hindsight, when they realized I was only 10 years older than them, years later, when they got to be 27, because I'm still in touch with some of them, they were like, "Oh my God." But to be able to take my sales skills and be able to go into other potential sponsoring companies and pitch INROADS, and then say, and if you're lucky, you can have somebody like me who actually went through the process, was pretty exciting. So, life is full of a lot of accomplishments. One of my early ones, I think, is that opportunity to be an executive on loan, and then, come back into the organization and be able to consult, having seen the other side of the organization. Because they had their best interests at heart, and they were doing the best that they can. So it was a wonderful relationship, and it was somewhere between parental and friend and mentor, somewhere in there. It was fluid. It was a fluid relationship, but always very respectful. Because again, you just knew that they had your best interest at heart. There was no question about that. That we were all in this together, and that we had to succeed in order for them to succeed, in order for the race to succeed. I mean, we had that sense of responsibility. I think my card actually said executive on loan. So at the time, since it was a startup, it was just me and the newly hired executive director, Sarah Avalar. And so she and I were kind of the dynamic duo, and would, go into the target companies, and many times companies like Arthur Andersen, which, back in the day, there were actually 8 big accounting firms. I used to be able to name them all. I can't anymore. But Arthur Andersen, for instance, was one of our original corporate sponsors. And so if a company had students in another part of the country, when we would open up a new affiliate, those companies would be the first ones that we would go to, to help expand into the new area. So she and I would make joint calls and go into the companies. I would go to the schools and recruit the students, put them through an interview process, actually select the students. So I got a chance to spend a lot of time with not only students, but their parents, helping the parents understand what this commitment was, what the expectations were. Not enough, not enough corporate spots for all of the talent that we found. And so we had to make some tough decisions in terms of the students that we were able to accept. with the best bets. We couldn't say, I see the potential in this student. And there's still one young lady that even now still haunts me, that, we had to turn her down. She was a little rough around the edges, and we had to turn her down. And that broke my heart to do that. And so that was a tough lesson for me, that you can't, there are always going to be circumstances where you can't do for everybody. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I never liked that feeling. And really, here it's almost 50 years, and I'm still thinking about it. And I often wonder. I'm sure she did fine, but to have that level of responsibility, 15 months was my contract, and so in that I got to recruit two sets of classes. So by the time I left, we had 33 students. And in that time, we also got, best new chapter of the year, which was kind of exciting for new folks. So just then, but INROADS was so holistic that you almost felt like you worked for the organization from the time they recruited you to the time you cut them loose. They never cut you loose the time you cut them loose. So I would almost say almost a lifetime. It felt like a lifetime. Certainly my early adulthood was all engaged with until I had my own family. I believe that there is a role for an organization like INROADS. I think, we have become more woke as a society. I think that some of the systemic challenges to upward mobility for people of color and who are different in any way, I'm kind of broadening my definition of diversity these days, that there still need to be organizations that are focused on the success of those groups, whatever success looks like and is defined by the individual. I think there's always a role for it, but INROADS was very personal for many of us. It worked because you loved and trusted the people who you were working with. It worked because there was a humanitarian aspect of it. You knew that the people who worked there weren't in it for the money. And you knew that the students there were giving an opportunity to have great paying jobs, but that wasn't their only motivation. You knew that that was also lifting an entire segment of the population up into the so-called American dream. Just one, expecting you to be excellent helps you step up to the plate, and treating you as an adult. They never treated you like you were a kid that should know better, and they held you accountable. You were accountable to give back then. You were accountable to be successful. You were accountable to, share that success and tell other people, how you did it. This wasn't a secret society kind of thing. So just having a group of people who were not related to you, because, some of us get some of that from our parents and our family, just having this extended family who, had no other, their goal was for you to be successful. I mean, how often do you get that? That is such a gift, that people who didn't know you yesterday just want you to be successful and want you to be somebody and to have the life that, you deserve to have, is pretty overpowering. And I know, them taking a chance on me not being from Chicago. And even though I let them down the first year, for them to say, okay, we get it, you're a kid, we took a chance, and have me come back. And they had enough of a relationship with Union Carbide that Union Carbide held that spot for me. I mean, they didn't get paid that first year because they didn't take the job. I didn't realize that until years later, until I was with Los Angeles. But just to have that, who am I? I'm a kid from the Bronx. I mean, why would you do this for me? Is just immeasurable.